People, hello, how are we? Hopefully we're all doing well. I'm Tom. We are now in December, firmly in December, which means in a couple of weeks we've got Fury versus Usyk 2, and this is a card I am genuinely so excited for. Like, absolutely buzzing. I really can't even begin to tell you how excited I am for this card. I'll be doing a live watch along. Feel free to tune in. Hopefully you do. Get a bit of a chat going. See as many of you over there as I can. Look, the card is good as well. I know what you're thinking. Oh, but it's not that good. It's not the best we've ever seen. It's not the best we've ever seen. But one, when you're headlining with the rematch of Fury Usyk, you don't really need a stacked card. And two, they can't all be 10 out of 10 cards. You know what I mean? You can't always have a card that beats the last card, that beat the last card, that beat the last card. There comes a time where you've got to slow it down. It's near Christmas. We'll be home with their families. You know, not jetting off to Saudi Arabia. Let's just appreciate what we got. We've got a couple of prospects on there, a couple of big names on there. We've got Fury Usyk on there. It's a good card. And that promo video as well, I mean, that promo video was actually really good. I mean, it was really well put together, really quite funny actually. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Maybe after this video, go and watch it. It's quite funny, well put together, as all of these are. It's just a good watch, do you know what I mean? It's got me more excited. Some of them are a bit serious, a bit more serious, quite long. This one's a couple of minutes long. Quite funny, lots of references in there. Loads of references to you know, like previous interviews, things said, iconic moments, all that sort of stuff, and quite good. Really enjoyed it. It's just definitely the best one I've seen. You know, the little Easter eggs in there, the references, the way they've both shown their personality. It just seems really good, really nice actually, as opposed to just being a promo video. It shows why we're tuning into these guys, because not only are they the best, they're just great personalities. Now I'm going to run through the undercard specifically quite quickly. So let's start with Isaac Lowe versus what was it, McGregor, wasn't it? Usyk is Tyson's, you know, he's his mate, and that's probably the only reason he's on this card. He's not an awful fighter, but he's not the level of boxing on this card. That said, I do think he wins. Then Dennis McCann versus Peter McGrail. I really like Dennis. You know, I say that like I know him. I don't, obviously, but I just think he's a good boxer with a bright future, and he's a nice lad from everything I've seen as well. I think he wins. Moving on to Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen. This has to be Johnny's hardest fight yet. The Romford Bull has been touted as Eddie's top heavyweight prospect. And if I'm honest, I agree. He's a good fighter, and the way he blew Babic out of the water really impressed me. I picked him to win that, don't get me wrong. I actually picked him to win convincingly. But the way he won that was very convincingly. I think he'll breeze through Dave Allen, surprisingly easy, and move on to Atoma, who, interestingly enough, is on this card as well. Then there is Frank's prodigy Moses Atoma versus Dempsey McKean. I mean this respectfully, because I really, really rate Atoma, but he hasn't really fought anyone of serious note yet. That said, everyone he has fought, he has been blown out of the water, which means he's being really hyped up. So it'd be good to see him in there with someone who shouldn't just bowl over. He shouldn't just bowl over, do you know what I mean? That said, I do think Atoma will win, again, quite comfortably, and put in a bit of a statement performance. And then you move on to the next one, Boachuk versus Madrimov. And I think this fight is being slept on a bit. This is a fairly top-level fight, and I actually rate Madrimov a lot, you know. I think it'll be a Madrimov victory here, and then he'll go on, you know, win that quite comfortably, go on to fight on the February card, which is obviously a stacked card. Now, I will do a separate video on some of these undercard fights a bit nearer the time, sort of next week, going into the week after. I just wanted to touch on that briefly before jumping in to the main fight, the main card. Then the big one, Fury versus Usyk, for what won't be considered the undisputed, but, you know, the winner will unanimously be accepted as the best on the planet. I think for me personally, I haven't quite decided how much impact this is going to have on either fighter's legacy, sort of in the long run. With Usyk being 37 and Fury being 36, and they're both getting older, latter end stages of those ages as well, if you know what I mean. They're nearly anyway, they're both getting old, and I don't know how much this will affect their legacy just because of how old they are. And I think we'll have to see how they fight to decide that. If they both turn up and they're both kind of washed, I'm just thinking, well, they're old fighters. It is what it is. If they both turn up and absolutely hammer it and do amazingly, I'd be thinking the fact they're able to do this at that age shows their level. So I'm a bit undecided at the moment. I'll let you know on the live stream. I mean, all this talk of Fury was on track to win. He was going to win the fight, and then he got caught with a punch that was sent from the gods, and it just knocked him off, and that's what lost him the fight. It's like, well, you obviously don't know how Usyk boxes. This is what Usyk does. Usyk will give you the early rounds. He'll set the pace and accept that he might lose a few rounds in doing so, but that's fine, because ultimately you won't be able to hold the pace, whereas he can. So that's what he does. He controls the pace and dictates the speed of the fight. You know, sometimes at the expense of a few rounds, not all the time, but sometimes. But it'll take a couple of the rounds anyway, as he did against Fury as well. And then from sort of 7 onwards, it's all things Usyk. Watch the Bellew fight. It was the same thing there as well. He wins and he takes the whole second half of the fight. And he'll also, you know, nick a few of the early rounds as well. Or in the Bellew case, he'll just make you absolutely shattered and chin you. That's what he did in the first fight. And it got him the win. It wasn't a lucky punch. That is how Usyk fights. He will wear you down, let you take a couple of the early rounds, but you have to maintain his pace, which means you're shattered and can't hold it. The second half of the fight, you're fucked. That's why Fury's going in there going, I want to knock him out, I want to knock him out. Not because he thinks he can't win on points. He probably can't win on points, but because he knows he probably can't even make it to points. He will be shattered. And I see this fight being very similar to the first fight. I think Fury might get a couple of the early rounds. Not the first couple. Again, that might be Usyk's to go. Or maybe Fury, if he really does come out trying to dictate the pace, might get a few of those early rounds, but then Usyk will be dictating the pace, dictating the speed, and then as that latter half comes on, all things Usyk. All things Usyk. And I think, which I'll come on to, because they've had that first fight, I think that benefits Usyk way more. And all this rematch talk of, oh, Fury does well in the rematches, like, okay, yeah, he does, but he also hasn't lost before. He's going into the rematches either having won, controversially drawn, you know, and clearly being able to make those adjustments to be the better fighter. This time he lost, and I don't know what adjustments he can really make besides, I want to go in there and knock him out, not leave that to the judges, like everyone says. If Fury comes in trying to knock Usyk out as well, it just won't work. It'll play into Usyk's hands. As I say, it's all well and good, him saying, Fury trying to say, oh, you had me hurt and still couldn't finish me. But Fury had Usyk hurt and still couldn't finish him either. Not to mention the fact, you know, he didn't even have him hurt that bad. And the only reason Usyk couldn't finish Fury when he had him hurt very badly was because the ref stepped in. I just think this attitude of Usyk's a small man and Fury went there and bully him around. Usyk's not a small heavyweight anymore. He comes in, he treats it as a weight class, same weight every single time, and he's really grown into the weight. He's not a big heavyweight, but he's not a small heavyweight anymore. And Fury going in there trying to knock him out, just going to play into Usyk's hands, and ultimately, because he's going to tire himself out quicker, maybe even get himself stopped. The only way Fury wins this is if Usyk's age is caught up to him, and he's no longer a slick, slippery southpaw. He's a bit older, not feeling so good, and his stamina's dropped, and so his speed has dropped, and if his age has caught up to him. Whereas Fury might have a lot more wear and tear and still old, but I don't think age will impact his style quite as much as age is going to impact Usyk's style. But as I say, ultimately I think it'll be much of the same. I think Fury can't outbox Usyk, so he's going to have to go in there and try and stop him. But if Dubois, Joshua, Chisora, the list goes on, couldn't stop Usyk, I don't see how Fury stops Usyk. And as I said earlier, I think the 12 rounds they've shared will actually benefit Usyk more than Fury. There's a lot of people out there that you can emulate Usyk with, Jar Pattaya, just a 6'3" southpaw boxer. That's not me saying that it's easy to emulate, but there's a lot more people that can do that. It's how do you get someone like Tyson Fury, 6'9", allegedly, who can box like that and move like that? It's much harder to emulate. And I think we saw that as the fight went on. Usyk struggled when Fury actually came on. Usyk did struggle a little bit in those middle rounds. He then got used to it, adapted to it, and was able to win that latter half. And I think now he's had those 12 rounds. It's like a 12-round sparring session, essentially, in terms of him getting used to it. Where he's now going to be, okay, I'm used to this. Fury had that. He fought Steve Cunningham. He sparred Jai. He sparred other fighters of a similar sort of echelon in terms of size and weight and this. I can't imagine Usyk got too many quality rounds of people Fury's size. So I think Usyk will go in ready and used to what Fury brings. Fury will blow a gasket trying to get him out of there. And then Usyk will just take over. I think the fight will reach a stage where it's fairly one-sided, and that I'm not gonna say should be stopped, but could potentially be stopped. We'll get to a stage where it's where that sort of is a possibility, with maybe a few knockdowns, maybe not. But I think because of Fury's bias, they'll let him see the end of the fight, and what will be a bit of a wider unanimous decision win this time. I think it should have been a unanimous decision last time. It was obviously a split decision, but I don't know what our judge was watching. Then they'll look to either fight AJ But if Fury does win, they'll do a Fury Usyk 3, and then AJ will fight the winner of Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker, which, you know, I of course can see happening. And I predicted that fight a while back. I predicted a while back that I think if Fury beats Usyk, which is obviously in the realm of possibility, AJ will fight Parker Dubois winner before this Parker Dubois fight was even announced. Any people, I'm going to leave this video there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts of the fight in the comment section down below. What do you think of the end of the card? Is it worth tuning in for? Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and YouTube. Watch people. Peace.